And good day. It is afternoon here in Singapore, and it is morning in the UK. Hi, Tracy. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Dave. Thank you so much for inviting me onto this webinar, and good day to you in Singapore.
Well, thank you very much. And we are here for the Meet the CEO, and it is an opportunity for listeners around the world to have an opportunity to meet a managing director, a CEO, and to delve into some of their tricks of the trade, some of their strategies and different ways that they're operating their business. And today we have the pleasure of the company of Tracey Carr, who is an entrepreneur in the UK, who has designed a software and has been a trainer and a facilitator and a speaker for a number of years. And it's really great to have you here, Tracy. And I guess with the idea of being a technopreneur is something that I found really exciting, because in Singapore particularly, there's an enthusiasm about technology. There's an enthusiasm about bringing productivity, innovation, creativity into the workplace. In fact, the government here in Singapore has invested billions of dollars in the last 5 years to really get people engaged with productivity, innovation, and creativity. And you're one of these wonderful people around the world who has embraced technology and has applied it in their business, shifted slightly from just being a speaker, a trainer, facilitator, to actually become a technopreneur. So that's something that I'm really excited to share some of your wisdom with people. And then you have a few topics that you're going to be sharing about with time management, productivity, efficiency. So wow, that's a mouthful from me to our listeners right now, yet perhaps you can share a little bit about your journey into becoming a CEO.
Yes, well, it's been an interesting journey, because I started out following a life event, which was finding myself a newly divorced mother of 3 children under 10, and I hadn't worked for 12 years. So I asked myself, what am I passionate about? You know, we all want to do work that we love, hey? And so I said, I always loved people. I love helping people. So I'm going to train as a coach, as a seminar leader, and so on, so that I can reach more people and actually earn money to do it. So that's where I started in 2001, and I went on to deliver seminars all over the world. I did leadership development frameworks for big corporates, rolled out leadership development programs for big corporates, and then in around 2010, when I was working with Cisco, I got very interested in technology, because Cisco is one of those innovative companies that we talk about, and their technology telepresence is just wonderful. So I started to deliver my seminars and coaching through telepresence. And then, of course, I was hooked on technology and what it can do for people. And then it was whilst I was delivering a seminar at Google in London that the people on the seminar said to me, will you turn your system that you're teaching into software? And I look back now and I say, that was the easiest yes of my life and the most difficult thing I've ever done in my life. So yes, I spent 2 years creating that software with my head in my laptop, and it's now on the web, and people sign up and they like it and they love it, and it's changing lives. So I've gone from coaching to technology, and I think I feel excited about combining those two.
I guess one of the things that definitely our listeners and myself were interested in, especially from the software development perspective, is what was the biggest challenge in software development, developing it and getting it through data, through customers and acquisition? What's been your biggest challenge in software development?
It's a really good question, actually, Dave, because I think there's a naivety generally around what it takes to bring a software product to market.
Yes.
And so many people have very good ideas, and it's not the good idea that's going to make the product work. The real tricky part is getting that product onto the internet, and then the next huge step is getting users, and then the next huge step after that is getting paying users. So actually, even though my project, my initiative, I consider to be at the beginning of its journey or its evolution, in what that means is I've developed a product, it's on the internet, we have paying customers. But even though I feel it's at the beginning, we've gone further than 50% of tech companies, just because we have a product with paying customers. So that shows you how many people come up with great ideas and don't even get that far. It's half of us. So that shows you quite how much the challenge is.
And if you were to identify a specific challenge, was it the team? Was it the endurance, the clarity of the vision? Was there something specifically that was a challenge, or maybe continues to be a challenge?
Wow, I could book about all of that. Yeah, I would say it's all wrapped up in this this naivety. You know, when I started, and I had already been selling paper planners of my system. I was selling them through Cisco's network. So I just had this idea that I would take photographs of my planner, send it to an engineer, and the engineer would create my product miraculously in about 3 months.
All right.
So years. So yeah, absolutely, the endurance is vital because you need to be so dogmatic about making it work. You really need to hang in there until you've got something that works, because it actually potentially will take a long time until you have got something which we call customer fit. So what we did was we got customers in the very early prototype, and we said to them, what do you think about it? What do you like about it? And what can we do to make it the best possible product for you? So we had all that feedback and we incorporated it, which then meant taking the product apart and rebuilding it for my chief engineer, who resigned 3 times during the process. But actually, because it was an iterative process, we came up with something that people love. So I would say that endurance, you know, that dogmatic approach to absolutely getting something that your customers love, that's so important. And then not to be a pathological optimist, which most entrepreneurs are. That's the nature of an entrepreneur. But your pathological optimism may bring people into your project who, you know, because it's software, they're expecting immediate, fantastic returns. And again, you know, it's not going to be like that. If you look at the trajectory of most tech companies, there's a long flat line until it starts going up. So yeah, absolutely, be very careful about the people you bring on board early and managing their expectations.
That's brilliant. In fact, as we spin this webinar today, we're going into the pragmatic approach that software development requires, and the next step I really was curious about, because it's something that you've had to apply and to practice, and now you're a master at, is this area of time management. And I'd love to get 2 or 3 wonderful tips from you to our listeners today on time management to really allow 2016 to be one of these years where they simply apply 1 or 2 of these tips and they just start having more time. They can apply it more effectively to be more productive. And I'd love now you to share a few of your time management tips for 2016, please.
Yeah, well, I can give you some tips from a textbook and theory, but everyone's heard all those. And of course, using my productivity software, that's the main, that's the priority, the main tip. But beyond that, which, you know, I say the normal, the practical is is managing your task list against your goals, so that you absolutely are making sure that the things you do during the day are related to your goals, because we're so overwhelmed with information, all of us these days, the white noise in the universe through technology. We're so overwhelmed that we can easily be very distracted, and I think most of us have a lot of trouble focusing on the tasks that matter. And that's why I developed the software, because it helps you to focus on the tasks that matter, which relate back to your goals, which relate back to your mission and your vision. So that's the first part. And the second part is, it's really developing a trusting relationship with your inner wisdom, because your mind has 7 sounds and it will confuse you about those things you're supposed to be doing. But generally, I find if you really work on listening to your inner self, your intuition, or whatever word you like to use, you know what to do, and you know what not to do. And if we're honest with ourselves, it's always when we don't listen to that inner voice that we get into trouble. So you can really increase your productivity by learning to listen to yourself. And one tip I would give is, when entrepreneurs are always too busy, but when you start the day with a headache because you've got so much complexity going on and messages, maybe they're coming overnight from all over the world, and you start with that headache, don't start work, because you're not going to be productive in that state. So do whatever you need to do, and whatever time, whether that happens, whether you've got that headache at lunchtime or in the evening or whenever you have that headache caused by complexity, take yourself away from your work, do whatever you do to get back into the right state, whether it's breathing or yoga or walking in nature or swimming or whatever, and come back to your work when your unconscious has had a chance to solve the challenges. And then when you start to say, oh, I've got it, aha, I know it, then rush back to your work and start working again.
So I'm hearing you're really encouraging people to connect to their inner self, to have different strategies, and whether it's a physical exercise or a meditation or yoga, to be able to have timeouts, to be able to really nurture themselves. I think that's one of the things that we were even talking about before we got on the call today. Again, there's going to be people that say, oh, I can't do that, I'm just too busy. In fact, they're creating this stress. They're exacerbating the situation. They're finding that with the 24/7 that life sort of dictates these days, the technology, the sleeping with their hand phone, these are all contributing to a stressful environment. They're finding that they're always under the gun. They're too busy. So I guess the next question that I'm curious about is some stress management tips that you're using right now, or that you found have worked over the years for you. I do believe in this cycle, that we go through different cycles. For men, it tends to be an 8-year cycle. For women, it's a 7-year cycle. And so you might have some tips for people who are experiencing stress and real pressure under time management. So again, to bring it all that down to a question, is what would be 3 wonderful stress management tips that you would suggest to our listeners today?
Yes, and again, I'll take it back to what I do personally. We're all susceptible to that way of being in the world, which is all it really is. If we are telling ourselves that we're too busy, then we can tell ourselves something else. So when I am in the state of I'm too busy, I'm overwhelmed, I can't cope, I've got too much going on, I simply tell myself to stop it. And it's as simple as that. You create patterns in your brain, you create patterns of working. And one of the key tips I would say as an entrepreneur is that the most valuable thing you can do is take time out to think. Because when you think, and especially if you have developed to the point where you're starting to use your unconscious mind for some of that thinking, you will come up with ideas and solutions to challenges which will dramatically increase your productivity and dramatically then reduce the amount of time that you actually have to spend working. I'm not an advocate of just do everything that comes at you. I believe in working smart, and so only do those things which make sense in accordance with those monthly goals and that longer term vision. And the last thing I would say is learn to say no quicker. I do know that that's a challenge for a lot of people, which is why I took a little bit of time to say that. But it is so important that we become discerning about who we connect with, who we learn from, who we associate with, because those people are going to have an enormous influence on how we show up in the world, which is going to have an enormous influence on our stress and our productivity.
It's discernment is one of those words that I keep hearing, and it's something that I love to explore. Discernment. Would you have perhaps an idea, just for some of our listeners who might not be fully connected with the idea of discernment, a way that they might have a closer connection or apply it? I love the idea of saying no. For a deal maker like myself, I say no, but then I'm often thinking about, well, who else can I assist, provide the solution, or connect that person with if I'm not going to opt into the opportunity. With discernment, what would be a distinction or a way for people to become even more discerning?
That's a really good question, Dave, and I was talking to one of our founding partners about that yesterday, because if you've been in business long enough, you have had experiences whereby you've made choices that have really got you into a lot of trouble. And I don't think anybody avoids that. It's just part of the journey of being an entrepreneur. So after you've had those experiences, you start to ask yourself, well, how can I be more discerning? And developing a process for making sure that your decisions are congruent with not just where you're going, but where that other person is going as well, or those other people. So there's two things I want to say. I want to give a little exercise that people can do, because again, it's a gut instinct thing. We can't write a strategy for how to do discerning. It really is a gut instinct. So I think I've got an exercise that might help tap into instinct. But before I share that, the second thing I would say is, once you've developed the instinct and you trust the instinct, then the key is to trust other people at their level of competence. And this is a big one that I've learned in the last 2 years, because as a coach, I tend to be the person who wants to love everybody and trust everybody and be open to everybody. But that approach can actually be overwhelming to people and scare some people who, so that's a great tip. Trust people at their level of competence. And again, you have to use your gut instinct to assess that. So how can you develop that instinct? Well, you can imagine you have to go into a bit of a state whereby you breathe and you shut your eyes, and then when you feel you're relaxed, you imagine 2 circles on the floor, and you imagine one alternative in one circle and one alternative in the other circle, and you literally step into both of those situations, and then you ask your body, how does it feel? And really what you're doing in that situation is developing your instinct, because eventually you won't have to do that exercise anymore. You will just be able to ask yourself the question, how does it feel? And your body gives you the answer.
Beautiful. This is I think it's a combination of neuro-linguistic programming and a little bit of hypnosis, and it's a combination of allowing your body to actually have a conversation and to notice the reactions, and in many ways respect yourself respect the way you're having a conversation, getting out of the vortex or the energy around the situation, and physically stepping out and then allowing yourself to have a new conversation, a respectful conversation, and thereby perhaps getting truer wisdom from yourself on the situation.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. Because you know, we do now know that the heart has neurons, and it's not just our brain that thinks. The body is very, very intelligent. So you know, the key is to develop ways to tap into that body intelligence, because it really does save time.
Well, that's super.
And a lot of, yeah, it saves time and potentially a lot of trouble for yourself and other people.
Well, we talk about time management, and then we talk about stress management, and I think one of the beautiful things that we have with a technopreneur in the house is perhaps share a little bit about productivity tools for performance that you would like to share with people, what you're using. Maybe this is an app, maybe this is a solution that you're looking at. What are one or two productivity tools for peak performers that you'd like to share today?
Yes, well, as I said at the beginning, Dave, I've learned to love technology and become very passionate about what it can do for people. So in terms of communication, of course, you know, what we're doing right now with Google Hangouts is fantastic. Any software that allows you to communicate via the internet, GoToWebinar and GoToMeeting is another one that I use. Skype I use all the time, and those ways of communicating save time and increase productivity, of course, because you're cutting travel time. It's very rare these days that I actually go to a physical meeting. And the other software that I use constantly is Dropbox, because I've had too many times when my laptop or my desktop has failed and I've lost data. And I don't want to go through that again. So, and it's just easy, you know, Dropbox is available on all of your devices and wherever you are, so you take your office with you. Again, very easy for productivity. And for personal productivity, for keeping myself on track and making sure that what I'm actually doing today is taking me towards my monthly goal, my mission, my long-term vision. Well, that's why I developed my own software, because I couldn't find anything that did that for me. So my best year ever is the best for personal productivity, in my view.
Well, fantastic. You've been able to not only use it, teach it, design it, build it, and now apply it and allow other people to benefit from it. So that's definitely a wonderful process to allow people to become more productive in 2016. I think what's been fascinating in this conversation today is we go from this idea of time and then stress and then productivity. And the topic that is dear to my heart also is finding money as an entrepreneur, as somebody who's a technopreneur. It's going to be part of your process. It's possibly a process that a number of our listeners today are looking at, our ways to raise funds, to talk about funding from angels or VCs, and you're on a journey right now that right now, perhaps even for the next couple of years, part of the journey will be engaging in fundraising in the UK. Would you like to share for our listeners a little bit what's your current reality is about funding in the UK, what's going on? And I know you've made some fantastic contacts recently, because that again is one of the ways to do it in a productive, efficient manner. So what would be sort of your read today on raising funds in the UK?
Yeah, I've been on it's a great question. Again, I could talk about it all day, Dave, because there's such a learning curve. You know, raising capital for a technology business, it's not the same as raising capital for what I call a normal business, if there is anything as a normal business. So the first thing I did was a lot of research. Done a lot of research on the internet about funding, what's a typical funding strategy for a technology business, how does a technology business have to perform, be that funding, and timelines and stages of development for the funding. So I knew from the research what to look for, and then the next challenge that I have in the UK is maybe this is a limiting belief, I don't know, but they have a much more aggressive approach in the States, and there's a lot more support for technology and software companies, and of course expertise out there as well. It's just a more mature, market. So when I'm looking at funding here in the UK, and yes, I'm absolutely at the point now where I'm looking for that angel investment, because I have Series A opportunity lined up. So I've got a short run to make of 6 months to develop the app, to produce a 6-month trajectory. Then I've got an opportunity Series A. So I'm looking for that angel investor. And again, the challenge in the UK is that people seem to be quite cautious. So what you have to do absolutely relentlessly is develop relationships. I'm sure everything in business is about relationships, but there's no relationships more important in a tech company than developing investor relationships. So I'll give you a couple of examples that have just popped up in the last 24 hours for me. And the first is, I think, again, I go back to that, who you associate with, who your mentors are, who your coaches are, is so important, because I had an impromptu conversation with my mentor yesterday. He's called Sir Eric Peacock. He sits on the board of the government. He's done lots of flotations and lots of businesses. And I spent 15 minutes on the phone with him, and after that 15 minutes, it changed my whole approach to what I'm going to be doing next week. And what he managed to do in that call, very simply and in a very gentle way, was to tell me that what I needed to go out, it's real simple, but sometimes you need someone to tell you. What I needed to do was go out, meet my contact, tell them what I want, and find someone who's got that money. So it's not more complicated than that, but actually sometimes we can make it more complicated in our head. And so after that 15-minute mentoring call yesterday, I spoke to somebody in the UK who's already created a big technology business and sold it actually to Experience. And he emailed me back and he said, I'm not investing at the moment, and I'm very busy with blah blah. And I thought, okay, that's a standard answer, and please do expect that as a standard answer, because it's normal. People don't want to, people in these places, investors and so on, they don't want to meet with everybody, so you almost have to prove yourself just to even get a conversation. So I replied saying, oh, I understand you're busy, that's fine, and I don't want to meet for funding, that's fine too. I think Simon Cowell has probably introduced us for a reason, and maybe that reason is because I want to create the Uber of coaching in the coaching world, so I need to talk to as many people as possible, ha. And I left it very light. And then he emailed me straight back and said, okay, let's meet the first week of March. So I hope in my little stories you're getting something out of that, which is you have to go and talk to people all the time, and you have to be light enough that it doesn't put them off.
Fantastic. And one of the things that you're looking to do in 2016, 2017 is to nurture relationships with potential funders, relationships with other speakers, trainers, business people, people who are in technology. And you came up with a wonderful approach to expanding and growing a network, a group of people that are going to be able to tap into the big vision that you're sharing, yet also some practical skills to be able to assist and to make a difference in many different businesses around. Would you like to share a little bit about why and basically what your 100 Club idea is, and share a little bit of insights into what the 100 Club is going to do.
Sure, Dave. Yeah, so again, it's building on my story, I think, really, which is that despite the fact that I love technology and I love technology and what it can do for us, I also believe it's creating a lot of loneliness for people, and especially entrepreneurs. There's so many of us out there doing our own thing, and perhaps not having the connection that we used to have before technology. So we might be having connection in a fairly superficial way, but not that deep connection that you might have from a mastermind, for example. So I've been involved in lots of masterminds over the years, and I'm sure some of your listeners have, and you certainly have. They've been involved in a mastermind whereby a group of people get together and they help each other through sharing their business ideas, through sharing their challenges, and being that support for each other and also a resource for each other. So I wanted to create that, mostly for myself, to be honest. I wanted to get back into another mastermind because, you know, it's time. I haven't been in one for a few years. And then I started to think, but hold on, do I really want one in my locality? Do I really want to connect with people where I'm living? Because my network's global. I said, no, I want to use technology to see if we can create that mastermind around a global network. So that's where the idea came from, and we're pretty far into bringing that idea to life. So we have a UK chapter. The idea is called the 100 Entrepreneurs Club, and basically it's bringing together 100 of what I call pioneers from around the world who are committed to learning and growing, committed to sharing their businesses and getting support and engaging with the community. But also we've lined up a series of learning masterclasses, and we're going to be doing accountability calls. We've also got a private Facebook group where people are already engaging and sharing their businesses and getting more out of it. So the idea is to take that mastermind principle onto a global community via the internet.
Sounds exciting. So 100 Entrepreneur Club, it's something that is in process right now. And I guess my next question is really going to be about the process, that the self-selection process. What type of person are you looking for? What type of person do you think will benefit from being part of the 100 Entrepreneur Club, and the ways that the collaborations, the opportunities can be shared and developed, and perhaps even your own examples of what type of people you're connecting with?
Sure. Yes. Because I'm a typical entrepreneur and I tend to start out everything with a lot of enthusiasm, I imagined that it would be for everybody. And I think eventually it will be for everybody. And we can certainly see in the future that we will have chapters in different areas of the world. But I think this first 100 group is key. Because it's key in setting the culture, it's key in being part of the process for making it work, and being committed to the process of making it work. And so really in the inaugural group, that's the 2016 group, we're really looking for people who are pioneers. So, you know, I would say what type of person, we distilled it down to, you know, people who look for opportunities, people who perhaps are willing to jump in when it's not all scripted and created and we haven't quite got the strategy for 2017, but want to be a co-creator in that process and also get lots out of it in terms of networking with all of the other entrepreneurs who come in as part of that initial 100 group.
I guess I've got another question, and if many of our listeners have seen the way that I've coached or I've engaged and interviewed before, I'm wondering if you can see the process I'm going, and I hope you can, because this idea of going with why in the water and then what in the wood, it really just allows this beautiful flow to occur. It's something that is the constructive cycle from the I Ching, and it just allows business to actually move forward in a way that it really does feel like it is smooth and simple. And so on that theme, my next question, and again, this is what's really nice, is that there's a couple of opportunities that you're talking about, because you have built a foundation right now, and there's an opportunity to potentially collaborate with you in the 100 Entrepreneur Club, and then there's also potential people that might be able to see the possibilities to collaborate with you with the software and be part of founding partners. And then who and when would this be a good time to engage with perhaps being part of the 100 Entrepreneur Club or part of the software that you've actually put together?
Yeah, well, I love the way you work, Dave, and I also am somebody who very much likes to work on a one-to-one basis. And I am in the beautiful space of still being able to work with people one-to-one, talk to people, communicate with people one-to-one. And I would say to anybody who's listening, who's interested in what we've created with the 100 Club, and they should perhaps reach out to you as a first port of call. And we do have an application process for the 100 Club, because we just want to know that the people who are coming with the right intention, and that the energy is right, that they are co-creative, that they're coming to give, and rather than take. So you know, we have a simple application process, but it's all through conversation and collaboration. So that's the first thing. And then the founding partner invitation for the software. Well, we have, I'm sure you're going to, well, we are going to share the software with your listeners, and they will see the end user part of the software. They will see what I use on a day-by-day basis, which is coaching, goal setting, and time management. So they can, I think everybody on this call is going to have a free version of that. Is that right, Dave?
That's going to be one of our bonuses for Chinese New Year, bringing in the whole idea of having prosperity, part of collaborative prosperity. Tracey has come up with a beautiful gift that everyone's going to have an opportunity to share, experiment, explore, and that's going to be something that will be announced in a couple of minutes. Yes, so we do want to invite everybody to look for ways to be more productive, to look for ways to really allow time management and stress management to be a positive for an individual in 2016. And so I'm just going to pick up this other component with the 100 Entrepreneur Club, and then maybe you can just speak a little bit about the way that they'll be able to plug in with this, and then we'll move on and share a little bit about the way that they can actually get their gift for the participating today in the webinar.
Perfect. So, sorry, Dave, did you say you were going to talk about this bit, or you?
I was just going to ask you to maybe just share a little bit about the different components of the 100 Entrepreneur Club with the leadership webinars, perhaps some of the names of some of the experts that you've invited and you've attracted to be part of it, some of the ongoing monthly mastermind sessions, and of course using the productivity tools, and just something that is really unfolding, and I believe it's really kicking off in the next month, and that right now there's this wonderful window of opportunity for people who do feel that they would like to have a more encompassing, welcoming global network to reach out and to connect with you and to find ways to collaborate in the coming year.
Yeah, absolutely, perfect. Thank you, Dave. So, so I have put together 12 of what I call the world's leading experts, and you, of course, Dave, are one of them, who will deliver a session once a month on an area of expertise. Now, I'm sure after this we will share the information about who exactly those 12 people are, but I just want to say at this point that they are my mentors. They're people that I've learned from. They're people who've coached me through some incredibly challenging times in my business life, and what I've learned and how I've grown through some of those people. I just wouldn't have been able to do what I've done alone. I can say that categorically. It's just not possible to do things on your own. I really fundamentally believe that. You simply don't know what you don't know. And if you haven't got the people around you who've already done the thing you want to do, then no amount of trial and error is ever going to get you there. You need that intelligence, you need that coaching, you need that support. So I've put together 12 global experts who will deliver content once a month, which is incredibly valuable. So for example, how do you write business plans that attract funding? And what kind of person, you know, some of the things we've already talked about on here, what kind of person are investors looking for? It's a bit like getting married, you know, they're certainly looking for a certain type of person. So who do you need to be with your rock star business plan and your great idea? And also we've got sessions on legal aspects of business, because again, I've got into big trouble through not paying attention to documents and agreements and heads of terms and things like that. So important. We've got lots of deep work as well on personal development and so on. So internet marketing, digital marketing. I hope what we've done is created a curriculum whereby it covers everything practical you need in business and everything emotional, spiritual that you need in order to become a person. And that includes me as well. So it's a we club, it's not a youth club or a me club. So as well as the content, we then have a call once a month, which is an accountability call. So you can bring your challenges, we'll use case studies, we'll talk through them, and then everybody will learn through those. We also have a private group in Facebook where people are already sharing their goals for the year and their long-term vision, and it's got an incredible energy with it. So I'm really pleased about how it started out. And then, of course, you get free for the whole year my productivity software. And I would say that, yes, there will be opportunities that come out of it. For the right people who join, there will be revenue sharing opportunities. And that will be creating the chapters, Reader 100 Club. And also we've got licenses for the software that people can, if they want to get involved in that, they can start to A, customize the software for their own use or their own team, and B, it's a retail license, so we do revenue share on selling that software if the opportunity came along for you to be able to sell that to another business or another coach or, you know, whoever or whatever. So there's lots of opportunities to co-create and make more together.
Fantastic. Well, this is an opportunity. We're finishing up now. We've got the last couple of minutes, and we're just going to bring the invitation and the bonus to fruition here. So one of the things that definitely we're thrilled to say is everyone's going to get an opportunity to test out the software. What would you like to see as the process for the getting the software, getting going? Is it something that they should contact me, or is there a way to contact yourself? Or what would you like to see happen there? And then the software that people can use for, I believe, a month. And then if they're interested to move forward with understanding a little bit more about the 100 Entrepreneur Club and being part of that, I believe that they can either come direct to me, just hit return on the emails they've just received, or they can contact you, because we're going to be working collaboratively on ways that we can add value to people here. So what would you like to share about the software, accessing the software? What would be the process that they could follow there?
Yeah, sure. I'm a believer in keeping things simple, Dave, so I love your idea about hit return. That's fantastic. You know, let's keep it simple, have the conversations, and see if we'd like to work together. And with the free software, I'm going to put the link. Can the users see the chat box? or, well, we'll share the link. We'll share the link with everybody for the software. And all they need to do is go there, create an account, don't pay, there's no need to get your credit card out. And then as soon as you've done that, you will have instant access. You'll be able to log in with the details, the username and password that you've created. You'll be able to log in without paying.
Great. Okay, so that sounds like if you're interested in it, hit return, come back to us with that you are interested, and then we'll send you the link, and then you'll be able to go access the software, and you'll have an opportunity for the next month to be able to use it for free to see ways that it can enhance your productivity, reduce stress, and actually add a whole lot more time to the quality of your life. Is there anything else that you'd like to bring a close today, Tracey? Any last message from the UK to our listeners, primarily in full, I guess, Asia Pacific, given that my friends in New Zealand and Australia and Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, and perhaps South Africa are on the line today?
Wow, you really do have a global community, Dave. It's very impressive, and being a traveller at heart, I just love the idea that we can connect globally through technology. And you know, I spent most of my 20s with a backpack going all the way through Asia. I lived in Australia and India and Africa. I did an overland expedition. So in my mind, through technology, I'm still traveling. And I just love that idea. So if the idea of connecting with an international community appeals to anyone who's listening, then please, you know, do hit that return on the email and join our club.
Well, on behalf of myself here in Singapore, our listeners all around, Tracey, I'd like to thank you so very much for investing some time with us today. For all of our listeners, I'll come back to my wonderful oranges. Gong Qi, Gong Qi, Gong Qi Fa Chai. Happy Chinese New Year. May the year of the monkey be the greatest year ever. And that's a big part of is hopping around and getting involved in some projects that really allow you to bring some more fun, some focus, some education and application into your life. So thank you so very much, Tracey. Wishing everybody a brilliant 2016, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dave. Thank you to everyone who came. I really appreciate your time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.